Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Josue, Pavon, Bobby Manning. We're both going to get on a flight tomorrow. Back to Boston.
Man. Back home. Game 6, though. Game 6. One game at a time, Bob. This series is not over, all right? Not over.
So 2 days off, travel day, practice day. Celtics going to regroup, get their legs under them. If fatigue was an issue, you're just going to have to regain yourself and compete in a game 6 for 48 minutes. All the cliches, they're all going to be on the line.
Yeah, for real.
They're all going to be on the line.
We're going to hear them all for the next couple of days, all the cliches. Yeah.
Well, my worry and what we discussed here on the post-game show is whether the Celtics are ready to give it one more all-out effort on the defensive end of the floor, pay attention to the details that they need to hit on the offensive end. Because, again, they're playing a high-intensity game plan. They're playing a thin rotation. They're giving themselves a small margin for error with how many possessions they throw away, and just some of the things I think we've come to expect from them. They're just going to be sloppy for stretches. They're going to have to call timeouts. These games are going to be close. They've scored a few blowouts when they've hit a bunch of threes, and maybe that will be the formula for Game 6. But what do you think is the key above anything else? Is it their composure going into the game? Is it their level of belief in themselves, if that's slipped at all? Or is it just all going to come down to execution and game plan and maybe even an adjustment after 2 losses here?
I think at this point it comes down to execution, Bobby, and especially on the defensive end. I think it goes back to the defense, and I think that's something that Ime is going to preach the next couple of days, that this team has shown that they can limit guys, or limit a team like the Golden State Warriors to 13 points.
They were great tonight.
Exactly. Like, they've done that before. They've done it. They did it in Game 1. They've done it against other teams before this. Like, this defense can be as suffocating to a level that we've never seen before. And I think they can still get back to that level. I don't think it's another, like, oh, they have to reach another level. No, we've seen what they've done. We've seen what it takes for this Celtics team to beat the Warriors. So it's getting back to that, getting back to the essentially the backbone of this team. And that's coming up with stops. That's being consistent on defense, because I do think that's gonna jumpstart the offense, and especially in transition. I mean, this team likes to run. The Golden State Warriors are right there with them. So that the transition defense, I think, has been it's been shaky, you know. The Celtics have to correct that, and I think one of the guys that had a lot to do with that, especially in Game 5, was Andrew Wiggins. You know, he got a lot done on both ends. I thought he did a really good job of staying in front of guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and switches, especially when Steph Curry was on a switch. He was able to guard the best players on the opposing team, and I feel like the Celtics, they have guys like that. But you're just not seeing that consistently. You're not seeing the same level of defense that we saw in Game 1. We're not seeing the same level of defense that we saw back in Boston. The Celtics have to do that, and they have to do it for 4 quarters.
Yep, and I like the defense in this one. I'm going to flip it over the offense and try to find some ways to space the floor. We've heard that now 2 games in a row, guys playing on top of each other. There not being much outlets for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Really for the Celtics to make the Warriors pay for collapsing, over-helping, shifting too much to the interior. They did a great job protecting the rim in this one. Yeah. Celtics started 4-13 inside.
That's true.
I think you get away from double big. I think you have to. Stagger those bigs, have more wings, more guards on the floor, more outlets for passing for greater stretches of the game. And I'm going to look at Grant Williams and hit him over and over again and try to get him going, because they need someone to hit threes off the ball. It hasn't been Brown. It hasn't been Smart. Horford's gone cold as the series has gone on here. Get Grant going. He's been that guy all year. This whole series, they haven't even looked to him at times when he's gotten lost in the fold.
Well, he's sort of disappeared, Bobby. I mean, ever since that big game against Milwaukee.
But again, execute. You just got to do what you've done well all year. And I don't think you get away from it. I don't think you get away from Pritchard just because he missed a few. He's given you big shots throughout these playoffs when you've given him a chance. I think Ime had a little bit too tight of a rope, and if there was fatigue, that's probably why.
Well, I feel like the offense, and we talked about this during the Celtics postgame show, where I feel like once the turnover starts stacking up, they revert back to, I don't want to call it hero ball. I think they've gone away from that, but it's sort of like a 2 or 3 passes minimum, and then whoever got the ball in his hand wants to make a big play. And sometimes it was Jason Tatum, sometimes it was Jaylen Brown. And I just feel like when the Celtics get back to swinging that ball around, making the Warriors really work possession by possession, that's how you tire out the other team. To Ime's credit, the team did look really tired, and sure, maybe subbing guys in and out more often would help that. But then at the end of the day, I feel like the core of this team has always been thin. It's always been top heavy. The second unit, sure, they're going to need help from Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard. I mean, this team is much more dominant when guys like that are scoring in double figures off the bench. But at the end of the day, it goes back to playmaking. And maybe Derek White is one of those guys that can help swing that ball around, help to get those backdoor cuts going, open looks. They have to buckle down also defensively, because, again, the Golden State Warriors, they cannot go on certain certain runs, especially in the second half.
Yeah, White struggled when they went to him for that, and Grant struggled when they went to him, and they gave Pritchard a 5-minute shot. He struggled. So if everything's failing, you got to just keep trying something. And tonight it was double big. That didn't work. I thought that was the most stagnant look the last 2 games here to close these games.
Right.
And I do love Rob being on the floor. Rob's going to have to give you a 35, 40-minute effort, it feels like, to scrap out another win there. And then you take your coin toss in Game 7. But I think we both agree this team has more than enough of an ability, more than enough of a floor defensively to go and win a Game 6 on its home court. And I think they're going to. I think we will be back here for a Game 7.
I agree with that. I believe that. And I also think that the small ball lineup, you were going to see that. I do think that I just don't
Big
know.
adjustments coming?
I don't think Ime is going to start like that, though. I don't think he's the kind of coach to just switch up everything.
They need a better start, though.
They do need a better start, but I just feel like he's going to stick with his guys. He'll take guys in and out 2-3 minutes into the first quarter for sure. If he doesn't like what he sees out there, okay, yeah, you make those adjustments. But in terms of going small ball, maybe in the second half, if the shots are falling, I mean, the Celtics were shooting better from behind the arc than the Warriors, which hasn't happened a lot throughout this series. But I mean, I just don't think that's sustainable, especially with someone like Steph Curry. Like, he's not going to give you an offer from behind the arc again. So, you want to see the Celtics switch things up and go small throughout, pockets of that second half. Maybe you start the fourth quarter that way. Something similar to what we saw in Game 1, and that was the best quarter we've seen from the Celtics all this entire series. So I'd be surprised that Ime doesn't go to that at least once throughout that second half. However, I think he sticks with what got him here. What got these guys here.
Game 6, 9 o'clock, Thursday night. We'll be all on the ground. I hear. So I hear. The Garden Report.
Last home game. TD Garden. Celtics fans, get ready.
All on the ground. I think we all will be for Game 6. And I'm sure everybody will be on Causeway Street. It's going to be a crazy scene. The Warriors have a chance to clinch the NBA Finals. Celtics have a chance to send the Finals to a Game 7. Monumental night in Boston. Josue and I will be back there. Practice coverage, Celtics CLNS at the Garden on Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. And, of course, all our pressers from tonight's game on CLNS Media and continued coverage of the Celtics Finals run on clnsmedia.com.